Welcome back to xxXHolic Anime Review Part 8. This is reviewing the two mini-series for xxXHolic that came after the second season. Shunmuki, Shunmuki, and Ro. Now, originally my plan was for the first mini-series, this one, and the following one for the next one, but time basically got in the way. Let's talk about these first two mini-series. The first mini-series was released pretty much like about a year after the conclusion of the original anime. Yes. After the main series ended, they released, like, the second season, in case you're wondering, was released from April 3rd, 2008, and concluded on June 26, 2008. The mini-series, the first one they did, started almost 1 year later, on February 17, 2009. The second episode was not released until June. Yeah, so people had to wait like 4 months between episodes. Now, these two episodes, basically, the story for this one is that Watanuki is basically tasked by Damaki's late grandfather, who's only appears in Dream, to gather 5 objects for him, as a thank you for helping him out thanks to events of the last season. So, what do they gather in these 2 episodes? A book, a mirror, a key, a box, and finally a dream. Now, in the first episode, we see Sonoro from the series Tabashi Reservoir Chronicle. In the second episode, we see the main female character of the series, Princess Sakura. The only reason I know who these characters are because I see these characters pop up in the actual manga, which they actually reference in this episode. That was quite puzzling of why the anime skipped over that particular guest star appearance. It's particularly very strange. I have no idea why in the world did that for. And Sasaro, basically, his appearance in the first part, apparently this might be the evil one. I'm not really sure. He's got like one eye. And he asks, basically, Yuko to send him where his right eye is. Gives some imaginary conversation. He's sent off. Yeah, not much to that particular thing. The Princess Sakura was a lot more interesting. When he introduced it, when he said, like, he says, Sakura-chan, he's like, how do you know me? He says, well, when we met, you were unconscious. And no, he didn't do anything to her. Basically, her childhood friend, Sunner, who also was in love with her, yeah, they are in love with each other, but apparently they couldn't confess to each other for some reason. I haven't read the manga, but that was basically the premise at the start of the series. So, they talked to her for a little while, and of course they had the little scene this is actually, now, when they first met in the manga, this actually happened in Chapter 7. Yes, Chapter 7 in the original xxX manga series that they met. And these two never saw each other until this two-parter. And the whole point was basically meet her in a dream. And then we have, it's like, sure, she's like, which one? And then basically we have sort of the evil one, and then the good ones show up. And then, of course, the good one goes off with Sakura, and then that leads into whatever goes on in their series. This overall, and of course, we have a guest star appearance by 2 characters. We see Washi and Seki Washi. Yeah, they make their last appearance in the second part of this 2-parter, where Amawashi has a completely different outfit, and her hair color is different. If you watch the first 2 seasons, she's a redhead. And here, she's platinum blonde. No idea why, she just is. As for Zakishi Warshi, she is a raven hair now. They apparently heard about what Watanuki's accident he had at the end of the previous season, and they wanted to see if he was well. He's doing perfectly fine. He's happy to see them both, and, well, they help him find a particular item. And then, of course, she was about to start crying, and they had to leave before those 5 surfers showed up again. I thought that was kind of funny, that, yeah, these 5 surfers, like, because Watanuki keeps making her cry, so his punishment is to get himself beaten up by paper fans, which I think is so funny. But this overall was a fantastic 2-parter. Yep, and then it leads to the final 2-parter, which comes like almost a year later. Like the first part was actually released like about 10 months after the release of the other one. These are two standalone-ish episodes. hmm Now, this is from the era that I wasn't exactly a big fan of. I thought this was okay of an idea to do. Basically, toward the end of the original manga, Yuko disappears. Yes, it's explained in the spin-off book of what really happened to the Tabashi Reservoir Chronicle. I'll get to that when I get a chance to review that particular series. But mostly something associated with that series and another series called Captain Sakura, and she and apparently kept her alive, and she got sued by darkness, and she's only seen in just this one episode. She's basically briefly seen in the next episode, and that's the last see of her. Also, Himawari, who's actually in the previous miniseries, this one she's not. No, she is. She actually, you actually hear her voice in the second episode, but this two-parter, she's completely absent. Damaki, now this apparently takes place roughly just a few years after the events of the main series. Like, apparently now, Watsuki is now the owner of the shop. The two little girls, what is their name? I had to look them up in here. It is Myra and Mono. Yes, they apparently love sleeping in the same bed as Watsuki. No, they don't do anything inappropriate. It just basically, it's kind of like basically a father basically having share a bed with his two little sharing a bed with his children. This is nothing unusual. Of course, Watsuki knows that these two, even though these two are little girls, he doesn't do anything proper to them. Basically, it's just an adorable little scene when they first see him in bed together. Like, it's just great. And Mokina, well, he's his usual self, basically getting drunk. Apparently, he can carry a sake, a bottle of sake. And here's the thing: bottles of sake apparently are bigger than bottles of wine. Yeah, apparently they're this big. Like, oh my gosh, they're freaking huge. And it's also revealed at the end of the first part that Damaki is getting married to Karom. You're like, you mean the 9-year-old girl? This is actually several years later. Yeah, this is about roughly almost 10 years later. I would say about 5, maybe probably about 8 years after the events of the main series, that he basically gives an invitation. Even though he can't leave the shop, basically he wants to accept it. Okay, fine. Yep. So, yeah, it's revealed they're still getting married. And apparently Karon basically has a thing. It's implied she has a crush on Watsuki, but it's actually revealed the reason why she married him. Yeah, you know the reason why she married Damaki? Because she wanted to have kids with him so they could be assistants to Watsuki. Okay. Yep, and of course Watsuki told her, like, be good to her. And Damaki basically agrees. And I love the fact Karon basically is like she is like she like I'm sorry, bro. He's like, it's fine. You're always welcome in the shop, which is quite nice of him to do because, well, she can see spirits like he is, and he does treat her basically. He basically, it's kind of like a brother sister relationship between these two, despite the fact she might be in love with. Despite the fact she's in love with him. Yeah, which it's perfectly fine. It's great the fact that he has a lot of respect for her, and basically he treats her. He's more like a regular parent to her than her actual parent, who was verbally abusive toward her. Yes, she was a terrible person, her mother. And here's the thing: after she retired from being a spirit cleanser, her mother never appeared in the series ever again. Yeah, she doesn't appear. She's mentioned like once, and in the previous miniseries, we see her at the start of the previous one, where she just basically is staying with her grandma, was staying with a fortune teller, which is a friend of Yuko's. And the next one, basically, you have Watsuki going to a dream. Well, actually, this one basically he's going to a dream. I think it's where he goes basically some fighting, and it's a great little standalone one. The next one is basically Haruka, Damaki's grandfather, investigating Damaki's dreams. Okay, And he goes into dreams, and basically you see his memories you see the series from his perspective. You actually even see something that not even the second season actually brought to the show. Watsuki being heavily cut up by freaking glass. He's like blood, like all over his clothes. You'll see blood on the ground, personally, on his clothes. Look if his clothes actually cover up all the stab wound, all the wounds he got from the actual glass itself. And you see the little messenger thing, which was mentioned at the end of the second season. And this overall is just, and of course, this is where the darkness stuff comes in. But it's overall really good standalone episode. Now, unlike the previous two seasons where the episodes are about 23-24 minutes, these OVAs are really long. Like the last one they released, which, fun fact, I looked it up, that the day this was released, March 9th, 2011, which is basically almost 1 year after the first one was released. Here's the interesting about this particular date. That was also the day the last volume was released in Japan of the xxx manga, of the xxxHolic manga. And it's also like 1 month after the manga ended. Yes, almost exactly 1 month. Which, wow, that is actually something. The fact that the series managed to release something after the manga already concluded. Yes, the manga published for 8 years. Publishing 213 chapters. Now, as for why that it managed to produce this many chapters in 8 years, I have no idea. Maybe originally it was weekly and then was switched to monthly. It's particularly very weird. Yep. But I gotta say, these two miniseries are fantastic. I highly recommend them. If you actually enjoyed the series, you would definitely enjoy these two miniseries. Though I think it's quite odd though that the first miniseries is the last time you see Washi and Zakashi Washi. Yeah, it's the last time we see these two in the actual anime itself. Damaki appears in like both the first miniseries and the second one. Himawari basically is also revealed she basically is married in the second one because it's during the period of time when Watsuki is, well, in charge of the shop. And she apparently can only visit once a year on his birthday, April 1st, April Fool's Day. Because apparently her bad luck stuff that she has apparently affects the shop, so only visits that once a year. And apparently her husband has no problem going to see Watsuki on his birthday, and from what I heard, he's very understanding about, like, basically the fact that he can see spirits. He's a wish master. Yeah, he perfectly understands it, which I at least praise him for being a very, very good husband. Though we never see this guy at all. In case you're wondering, does this guy ever appear in the manga? Himawari's husband? No. He never appears. He's mentioned frequently. I'm like, when the heck? Apparently, here's the thing about him. All that's known about him, he's a businessman. That's basically it. And it's also revealed that she actually did have children with him. So Himawari's got a couple of kids. They don't reveal exactly what happened to them. And the whole thing with Damaki and Koroni, I keep forgetting how to pronounce this woman's name. It is. Let's see. I know she appears. Let's see. Gahon, yes. Where she's actually a little bit older. Yes. And it's great though. She appears in both the. She appears for the miniseries. The first miniseries, she only appears beginning the first episode, and that's the last see of her. In the second miniseries, she actually physically appears in both episodes, which she's a great character. I'm glad the fact she actually appears. And if you know how many women who are in love with Watsuki, it's like officially 3 people: Himawari, Zaroshi, and Kahon. That's basically it. Himawari, it's never revealed that she's attracted to him at all. Yeah, it's never explicitly revealed. Nope. But yeah, that's it for this particular review I gotta say about these two miniseries. Next review, I will discuss my final thoughts on the anime itself, and I will also talk a little about the manga, the current one, and what anime I'm gonna watch next. Okay? But see you next review. Bye.